Hello, this is going to be a quick mini review of a pack which I bought off the internet from AliExpress from a company called Naturehike. If you're not familiar with them, Naturehike is a Chinese manufacturer. They make a lot of hiking equipment, camping equipment. Some of it is what I might call like a knockoff of other companies' gear, and some of their stuff is more OEM, their own designs. But even their materials which are knockoffs are often sometimes better designed or redesigned than the ones which they were perhaps originally imitating. An example of that might be a rain poncho, which I'll review at some point, where it seems to be inspired by Sea to Summit's rain poncho. However, it's half the price, and they have a model with a very light zipper at the front, so that it comes off and is much more breathable than the Sea to Summit version. But they have a backpack that comes in 40 liters and 60 liters, and I bought the 40 liter because that's sort of the range which I look for. I was looking for it in terms of sort of like a light through hike. If someone's doing the Camino, a pack in that range. For a Camino, you wouldn't really want anything more than a 40 liter, in my opinion. Perhaps if you're doing it in the depths of winter, you might want, if you're carrying like a lot of extra clothes. But spring, summer, fall, I don't think you need anything more than 40 liter. In fact, probably a 30 liter is more of a sweet spot. But I always like to get a bit more volume, a bit more capacity, because it makes packing in the morning a little bit simpler. I find if your pack is too small and you're having to play Tetris every morning, getting all your stuff to fit in, that's not so fun in the morning when you're groggy headed. At any rate, I bought the 40 liter off AliExpress. I'm sure you can get it off Temu as well. They do have North American websites. However, it's a bit cheaper to buy it off AliExpress for certain. So this is the pack. It says it's a 40 liter. It only comes in black. There's things which I really quite liked about it. There was, for me, a bit of a fatal flaw, which is why I did not take it on my last trip. I may still, I might, adjust my attitude. I have in the past. I had another backpack, which when I originally got it, I was like somewhat disappointed in. But then after I tried it for a bit, I took it to Spain and I quite enjoyed it. It was an iron backpack. That's another video. This is the Naturehike 40 liter, however, only comes in black, as I said. It's a, attempted an ultralight or a lighter pack. It's not an ultralight. I think it comes in at a little over a kilo. I think on their website it says like a 1 kilo. I think it's like a kilo 100, 1100 grams off the top of my head. Might be wrong, but not by much. What you get is a single bag backpack. It has a really nice mesh pocket at the back. Like, this is a really nice one. I really enjoyed this. I think it's a good feature. It has pole loops or ice axe loops, if you will. It has 2 side pockets, mesh side pockets, straps for cinching up your load. The top is a roll top, which hooks in on itself. I just have some towels and pillows in there for volume. It does have what I found a little bit of a, for me, strange pocket at the top. The reason why I say strange is because it has little clips, so it hooks closed. However, the pocket is open at the top and closed at the bottom. So I found that a little bit problematic if it were to rain, to say the least. So I think you would get definite pooling in there. So if you're to use this, for anything other than a sprinkle, you would have to have a pack cover, as far as I'm concerned, because this becomes like a pocket that the rain will go into and it will just fill up. Anything in there will become submerged. So that's, in my opinion, a design flaw. I don't think that part was quite well thought out, to be honest. There is a zip pocket at the very bottom. There is pack cover, which you can put on. It's a black pack cover that it comes with. For myself, if I were to use this, I would use a different pack cover. I'd use a high visibility one because I'm a high vis kind of guy. I think it's just wise if you're going to be packing, whether in the countryside or if you're doing something like a Camino where there's like about maybe at least a quarter of the trip is road walking or walking on the side of the road. You want to be as visible as possible. Or if you're going into towns like late in the day or leaving early in the morning and you're worried about merging with traffic. So this part is fine. That top pocket there is a little bit unusual. The top, of course, rolls down, is a roll top and clips to itself, which is fine. On the front, it is a solid, there's a solid foam back. There's a hip belt, fairly standard hip belt, nothing unusual there. Like you've seen a lot of other packs. There's side pockets, which are, to be honest, pretty small. And that's going to be one thing which I will complain about, not just Naturehike, but a lot of manufacturers. When you're putting on a side pocket onto your backpack, most of the weight is coming from the belt part. If you just add like another couple of, centimeters of pack material, you're going to have a larger pocket for not a lot of weight. Most of the weight attached to the pocket is the zipper, which is somewhat a constant. But if you just add some extra fabric, you're going to be able to put something in, a phone, even a squished down poncho or something like that. But instead, the pockets are quite small. You could squeeze a granola bar in there, but that's about it. So that's the hip belt. The load-bearing straps are quite nice. They're foam, quite a firm foam. What I quite liked about them is that they are there's daisy chain. There's hooks for attaching equipment. Of course, a chest strap, which is adjustable, and there is daisy chain there, so you can customize it. You can add aftermarket water bottle carriers, which is my preferred means of carrying my water. I don't like hydration, camelback type hydration bladders. I'm not a fan of it all. Too fussy, or I'm too lazy. The big thing to point out though is at the top. There have been other people who've done reviews of this Naturehike backpack before on YouTube, and there's been some difference of opinion about the top of the pack and the straps. So the spacing between the straps is fine. It's actually, if you dig out a ruler, I'm not going to, but there's someone with another video who has. The spacing between the straps is actually no different from, your average, Osprey, Gregory. It's maybe like about 4 inches off. I would say 4 inches just to eyeball it. The somewhat fatal flaw, in my opinion, is that the straps are set straight forward. If you notice, say, I'll use a Gregory because that's often my standard pack. It might be the same spacing, however, they're angled out. Both the straps are angled out, and then so that when you put it on, it accommodates your neck quite well. I found that this does somewhat touch your neck, which if you're just going about town or like a day, a day hike, would be all right. You probably wouldn't notice it. You would notice it, but it wouldn't be a big deal. If you're doing a long hike, something like a long Camino, like if you're doing the Frances, 33 days or whatever, living out of a pack, I think that would irritate and annoy. So for me, ultimately, that was the killer in terms of not wanting to take this pack. The cost in Canadian dollars on AliExpress, I think it's $99, which is under $100 Canadian. US, that's probably, let's see, I don't know, 70 off the top of my head, depending on the currency, which is actually a really good price. That's a really cheap price. I would say if you're of a smaller frame, the issue with the straps won't bother you as much as it bothered me. I'm a somewhat more developed frame, and so that became more of an issue. And under $100 Canadian or very much American, it actually is kind of a neat pack. I don't mind it. Like I say, the only things I would do myself if I had it, if I were to use it, I would add 2 aftermarket bottle carriers to the straps, which is easy to do because it does have daisy chain capability. And I would just stick with the hip belts. I wouldn't do anything with that, but I'd probably add a chest pack for carrying my incidentals, which, because it's daisy chained, was actually quite a viable option. And as I say, I would definitely, it does come with a rain cover stuck at the bottom there in its own little zipper pouch, which does have a drainage hole. Although myself, I would use like a bicycle backpack rain cover, something which is designed more for high visibility myself. So am I going to keep this one? No, I'm not. I'll probably sell it on Facebook or something like that. So someone will get a deal for sure. Primarily because, as I said, because of the straps and the spacing of the straps for someone who's like a sort of a larger frame. Smaller frame, you're fine. That, and I now already have a pack which I'm quite enamored of. In one of my other videos, it's what's called an Arn Pace Magic 40, and I'm not going to be leaving that behind on any of my trips anytime soon. So this is in some ways quite redundant. Although, if you're looking for like a budget pack, you're of like a medium or smaller frame, the straps will not be an issue for you. I would say for under $100, it's a good pack. You can take it on a smaller through hike, and you'd be quite happy with it. But as I say, in my case, it was a no-go. So I hope that helps make your decision about this pack off AliExpress. Comparing it to the other videos which are out there about the same pack. Some nice details, but ultimately not for me. Cheers.